Welcome back to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Now, on this side of the program, we've got one of my best pals, Miss Ellen Parker, and she's here to talk about Project Bread and the Walk for Hunger that's coming up. But we're going to talk about food in schools, and we're going to talk about some real good stories about the people that are involved with the walk and how they've helped each other over these many years that the walk has been in place. And so, look, I've got to get to this conversation. So without any further ado, thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, Sheriff, you know I'm so pleased to be here.
It's
You're
always
my
good
favorite
to see you.
too.
You are the best. But no, listen. Let's get the business out the way, because I do want to talk about some stories that have come out of the experiences. But let's start with why the walk. What is it all about, and what does it do?
So the Walk for Hunger is it's a pure citizen fundraiser for anti-hunger, and that anti-hunger means big. It means community gardens. It means meals programs. It means cooking programs for mothers and kids at Head Start. It's sort of the whole thing. I mean, I really think we're more about good eating than we are about hunger.
Right.
So we're really about good eating and love and making sure everybody has healthy food so they can have a good and robust life.
So now when you talk about good eating, there's been this conversation for quite some time about obesity and kids, overweight kids. And there's some discussion about the food that, or actually in the vending machines, but some of the dietary conditions in the schools. Is that changing? Is that getting better? Or?
Well, that's a great question. So every 3 years, the city of Boston contracts out for a new school vendor. And half of the schools have kitchens, but about 20,000 of the youngest kids, this is pre-K through 6th grade, 20,000 kids are in these satellite schools, and they need to go to an outside vendor.
Okay.
So I hate to say it, but I mean, I've been in many of these schools, not just in Boston, but in Lynn, and I've seen the kids be unable, their microwaved meals, I've seen the kids unable to open the plastic, or their fingers get burned by the plastic, or they can't, you know, they're not given an orange cut, you know, sectioned up like you're supposed to if you're like a little 5-year-old.
Right.
And they throw the food away or they don't eat it. And so for some of these kids here in the city and in Suffolk County, their families are just struggling to make ends meet, and there may not be every day that these little kids get something to eat.
Okay.
So I'm really passionate as an anti-hunger advocate about good, healthy food for young kids. And this school food contract right now, it's just a critical time. It's right, the school officials have it. They're going to make a decision toward the end of May. And it's really important, I think, for everybody to ask questions and say, how can I get involved? And if they're concerned, to send Mayor Walsh a note and say, I really think my kids should have something good to eat, and it should be tasty, and it should be good for them.
Right,
and
right.
I know they throw it away sometimes, and I don't like that, because our kids deserve better here.
Okay, so what do you say to the dissenting viewer that says, yeah, I could call the mayor, or I could call City Hall, but nothing's going to get done? Talk to me about really that need to have parents and others call to say, this is what we really like to see happen.
Oh, I think it's just, I mean, you can also call, like, if we don't think we can make anything happen, then we don't have any hope. And we need to have hope. And we have a brand new mayor. He has not even been in for 4 months. Right. And I think he's a good man, and I think he's eager to hear, and he's all over the city. I don't think he ever sleeps. So I don't think that we should say that, because we're the ones who elect people right now. You can see a lot of good examples of that. People can make a difference.
What do you think about urban farming? There's this big craze about urban farming. Yeah, in the cities, and rooftop farming. And what do you think about urban farming?
I think it's great. So one of our mutual friends, Glenn Lloyd, who runs City Fresh, is one of the original urban farmers here, and that's one of the things that Project Bread supports. We're a big supporter of his urban farm, and if you've ever been out to the Dudley Street greenhouse, where you see people from all over the world who've come here, and they're fantastic farmers, and they're just growing great stuff, and it has a ripple effect. It's not just you grow something and you sell it, but the kids in the neighborhood see it, and people start to say, oh, that vegetable looks good, I wonder how I could cook it. I mean, it has a ripple effect. It's not just about growing vegetables, it's really about changing and creating community.
You know, it's interesting. We at the Sheriff's Department began as a pilot program in Urban Farm last year, and it worked out really well. And so this year, we've continued it, but this year, probably in the fall, we're going to start a culinary arts program. Next year, we're going to start a hospitality program. And I say all of this to say that what we're trying to do is to teach people how to grow food, prepare food, and to sell food. As you know, when you're incarcerated, you come out of jail, sometimes it's tough to get a job. And so what we're looking at are vocations that, despite the fact that you've been away for a while, if you've learned the skill, and who doesn't like a good cook, frankly, you know, right? We think that's a really important thing to do.
Fantastic.
You know, we think that that gives the folks that are with us also an avenue to do something else with their thought process. You know, you don't just dwell on how you found your way into an incarcerated situation. Look at what you're going to do when you get out of here. Do you find that putting your hands in the soil and the dirt and growing vegetables and fruit and all that sort of stuff is somehow therapeutic?
Well, to tell you the truth, no. My husband does, though. And he's always like fooling around with our yard work. But I cook all the time. And when you're saying that, like, doesn't it make you feel, when you have to put your mind on something? My mother would never allow us in the kitchen without, like, doing the dishes or cooking. So we would be telling her our problems, and we'd be chopping the onions. So I'm sort of more at that end. But I'm a terrible gardener. I tried to grow some basil, and I even had Glenn Lloyd's advice on it. Yeah. And I would call it the upper 40 acres, like in front of my house. Yeah. And I couldn't grow it. But my husband's very good at it. You know, you have to marry. You know, if you don't have the talent, you marry somebody with talent.
So if he's a good
gardener, he's a good gardener.
Are you a good cook?
I'm a great cook.
You're a great cook.
I'm a great cook. I cook I'm really a good cook, and I come from a long line of cooks.
Really?
And I'm so excited. Let me challenge you for something.
Go ahead.
I am so excited about your culinary hospitality growing program.
Yeah.
Let's put them together.
Yeah.
That I'm going to challenge you if you can raise $3,000 to $5,000 on a walk team. Project Bread will double it. So whatever you can raise on your walk team.
Look at you.
No, but I'd really.
We can do that.
I would really like to. I'd like to say in our way to the people that you work with, we believe too. We believe you can come out or grow a garden, not be like Ellen Parker, or cook, be like Ellen Parker. But I'd love to issue that challenge to the Sheriff's Department.
See there?
And it could be, whatever it could be for the garden, the hospitality, because I know it's a piece. Yeah. And I know you need some private philanthropic dollars. It's a little bit, but it really says who we are and who we care about. Okay, Sheriff.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
All right.
But now, watch this. Now, here's the curveball. So can we do this annually?
Yeah.
Serious?
Absolutely.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. Yeah, no, we can do that. Because it's very important. It's very important.
It's just really important for so many ways. And it really is, your people are very important too. Some of the stories that you've told me about people coming out and turning their lives around, that's important for everybody to know. And so it's a little vote of confidence from Project Bread to the Sheriff's Office.
You're on. But I'll tell you what, why don't you tell us a good story? How long have you been with Project Bread?
16 years.
Okay, so you've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot.
You've heard a lot. Tell us something that's really that's inspiring that the audience would not know.
Oh my gosh! So we have lots of stories. There's so many different kinds of people who walk. But one story, and I actually have a picture of this lady in my office. So at the end of the walk, something a lot of people don't know is we actually follow the last walkers in a van because we're always worried about them. I mean, we're really like mother hens. Right. So there's 40,000 people, but the very last ones we follow. And it's a very, very hot day. And there was a young woman who was fully veiled in front of, it was hot. And she had the burqa on. And none of us wore burqas, so we thought she was really hot, too, so we were worrying about it. She had these two little kids. She walked the whole route, and they rested, and everybody rests. But there's somebody in back of her saying, are you sure you don't want to hop up now? Do you want to hop up now? And she's like, no, this is really important to me and my kids. And we started to call Gina, who was in the van, and we're saying, is she okay? Because she's one of the last people. So finally, we could see her coming with her two little kids, and two little kids had on like little walk T-shirts. And so we all got to the finish line, and we all started cheering. And she started cheering. And that image of this woman who seemed so foreign, but was so not so foreign at all to us,
Right.
and her 2 little kids who came from a different country, and they were there in their little walk T-shirts.
That's nice.
And it brings tears to my eyes. I mean, it was really sort of the commonality of our humanity. And she said, I never want anybody to be hungry. I've been hungry in my country, and I don't want anybody to be hungry here.
Yeah.
It's really, really moving.
How long is the walk?
It's 20 miles, but I have to always say, you don't have to walk the whole way. It's not a race. It's really it's a community activity. Do you know, Steve, we raise $5 million in donations of less than $70.
Really? Actually, I'm not surprised.
It's so great.
Yeah,
It's so great. And there's another story I always like to tell. Is there's a guy. So I'm at a certain place on the Common every year, and there's a guy who was in the, I don't even know if it's still open, it used to be called the Till program. It was a detox at Pine Street.
Okay.
And he always would go by me and say, I'm with the Till program, clean and sober, 1 more year. And he's like walking because we had given the Till program money. Nice. And it's just great to see that. And you see the little kids, and they're so excited because they're giving back, and the corporate sponsors, and it's really a beautiful day in Boston. And then the sheriff's going to be there this year.
Yeah, no, we'll do it this year. What's the route is from where to where? Where do you begin?
It begins on Boston Common.
Yep.
It goes through Kendall Square up to Chestnut Hill, where you're very familiar with.
Yeah.
Your
Eagles.
old place.
That's right.
Go Eagles.
There you go.
And then comes back down through Watertown, near the Watertown
Yep.
Mall, and then to the Weld Boathouse along the Cambridge side,
Yep.
and then over the bridge on Mass Ave, and then up the center of Com Ave. So it's the center of Com Ave.
I do. Yeah.
It's really a beautiful walk.
Now, how many people do you generally have in the walk?
So last year the walk was 5 days after the marathon bombing, and it was 6 days. It was very scary for us. We thought nobody would come out,
Right.
and we had 30,000 people come out.
Really?
Yeah, and so usually we have 42 to 43,000, but people came out, and they were generous, and they worked hard. And this year we're kind of fighting back because we actually were down almost $500,000 last year, and we had to dig into our bank account so we could keep funding. So we're really trying to make a comeback this year, and we're working hard, and we're a little nervous, and we really want to make it happen.
Yeah.
But we're going to make it happen.
I think you will make it happen. It was unfortunate what happened with the marathon bombing, but that just shows the strength of community. People coming out to say that we care. We care about each other. We care about our fellow man and woman and child. And so let's join in. Don't you think? I think that's great.
Yeah.
Do people actually do they bring their dogs? Do you have people to bring pets or no?
No. Well, it's really not good to take your dog 20 miles. Some people we discourage.
Some would say it's not good to take a human being 20 miles, but that's another story for another day.
So here's the thing. The staff would be mad at me. We have buses all along the route, so it's not just like a walk across the desert or something.
Right.
I mean, we have little tables and oranges, and every now and 3 miles or so, we have buses, and people can take a ride back. Or there's the subway.
Yeah. That's cool.
But it's very celebratory, and the kids love it. There's so many kids out.
So now, when do you start actually planning for it? I mean, how long? The reason I ask is because I used to work at Demet Community Health Center, and we used to do this. Well, they still do the big Steppin' Out Gala.
Yeah.
But right after it ended, like within the next couple of weeks, we were beginning the planning stages for the next one. How long does it take to mount this effort?
Well, it's intense from January to May, but we do it all year long too. I mean, we go through. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
We analyze it. We think, what did we do? This year, we're really much more at Project Bread trying to emphasize the fact that hunger and food security and the food system are really one thing. That there aren't a bunch of people named hungry over here and all the rest of us here. That we share a food system, and we all need healthy food. We all need good food, and how do we get access to it? So it's a little bit of a shift from the supplicant and the donor. We're sort of away from that, and we say most people want a hand up, not a handout, and that's our motto.
On that note, who do you actually feed?
So all kinds of people get involved with us, and we do things like we're very active in the school systems. So I have 4 chefs now working at Project Bread, and we have chefs in Lawrence Public Schools, the Salem Public Schools, the Boston Public Schools. So those people are fed through us, but sort of indirectly. We fund food pantries and soup kitchens, 400 of them all across Massachusetts. We fund CSAs, we fund urban farms. Now we'll be funding for the first time the Sheriff's Garden program.
That's right. Beautiful.
And so lots of different settings. We are in health centers where we screen people in the pediatric service to see if they're eligible for food stamps. So we try to be where people are and try to make helping something that feels natural and doesn't feel embarrassing and stigmatizing.
Now, do you work in tandem with other social service agencies or any other groups?
Yeah, well, we work very closely with healthcare. We work in a lot of health centers. We also work with the Y's. We do summer meals with the Y's.
Okay.
We're doing a dinner program with 2 Y's right now. So, yeah, we do a lot. We work with the cities.
Okay, so now let's give some startling statistics to folks so that they can really understand the depth on one side of the problem of hunger, and on the other side, what how the mission is really wrapping itself around helping these hungry folks. How many hungry kids are there out there in the country, do you know? Or out in the Commonwealth? In the Commonwealth, well, yeah, that you serve.
So when you say hungry, what it really means is that kids who live in families who don't always know where the next meal is coming from, which is a little bit different from that. But in some ways worse, I think. So there are more than 200,000 kids who live in families that are food insecure. I think what's worse than that, and this really makes sense if you think of it, the majority of those kids are little kids. I mean, just think about it. Who doesn't have much money? It's really young parents, naturally, because they're young. And so it's the young kids and the young parents who are so vulnerable. And it's really that group that really, we really are concerned about, because they're not in pre-K yet. But there are over 200,000 kids under the age of 12, and they're in cities and towns, and but there are things that you could do. I mean, if we had a robust, excellent, healthy system of school food, then every single family could count on a healthy breakfast and a healthy lunch, and it would be normal and where the kids should be.
Do legislators get it? Do our policymakers get it that we have so many hungry people?
I think they do. I think what's hard for people to understand sometimes is that the mental image of people who go to a food pantry is really not the way it is. Only 30% of the people nationally who are food insecure use a food pantry. Food distribution is a good thing, but people find it stigmatizing and embarrassing. It would be better if we had a system where people could pay a little bit, because everyone wants to pay a little bit. So I think legislators get it, but I think that everybody's always looking for the one solution. But there isn't really one solution. There are a number of solutions. And I think the other thing is people are not just food insecure, they're mortgage insecure, they're daycare insecure. I mean, people who are struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah, so it all feeds on itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how life is, right?
Yeah.
You struggle here, you struggle there.
But the beauty of what you do is, unless you are confronted with this issue or you know someone who's suffering with food insecurity, I believe how you referenced it, you might not know and you might not think about it, and what you're doing is that I've got this lovely booklet here, Fresh Ideas, Project Bread, the Walk for Hunger, and these are the type of materials, and what you're doing really brings this issue home, because we all have to eat. That's right. But I think a lot of us may just take it for granted that there's always going to be food there. That's a really scary thing when food is not there. I grew up in a single-parent household in Harlem, and my mom had a couple of jobs, and I remember having mayonnaise sandwiches. No meat, just mayonnaise, and so that, it was better than nothing, but still, it's not that nutritious meal.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good. It's not good and it doesn't feel good. I have a good friend who's in the labor movement who told me a very similar story, and he's an important, big shot person, and so a lot of people have those stories in their childhood. It hurts them, and they remember maybe that somebody helped them, and then they are inclined to help someone else.
Tell us the story about how you came to work with this organization.
Oh my gosh. So somebody called me up, I was recruited. I didn't know what anti-hunger work was, but you know what I did know? I had worked for years with families. I had been a Vista volunteer in Columbia Point. I'd been a welfare rights organizer.
Okay.
I had worked with refugees and immigrants at Catholic Charities.
Yep.
I worked at Florence Crittenden House. I worked for the mayor of Boston. So I knew a lot about people. And so I was kind of an anomaly in the anti-hunger world because I wasn't sort of pounds of food and, you know, the tractors and the cranes. Like that wasn't my thing. But I really cared a lot about what people did. And I cared a lot about, like, what do they do when they get the bag of groceries? Do they throw half of it away?
Yeah.
Do they know how to cook it?
Yeah.
What's it like for them? What's the experience of being helped? You know, do you feel uplifted or do you feel diminished?
Right.
And so that's really what I brought to Project Bread.
Right.
I couldn't drive those cranes or those things.
Sure, look, I put money, I bet you could do anything you wanted to, frankly.
That's nice to hear, Sheriff. I want to be Sheriff of Suffolk County.
You know what? You know. So it's funny. No, because a lot of the elementary schools have principal for a day.
Yes,
okay?
I went with the
Right.
former sheriff.
Right.
She outshone me.
Yeah, but I've gone with her also. I haven't done it myself, but I remember coming back to the department, and she said, "Man, that's a lot of work. That's not what I thought it was going to be." So if you want to be sheriff for a day, you can have at it, young lady. Particularly, and it's just much more than you think it is.
Oh,
like your job, I'm sure.
I bet, and I have to just give you a little shout out because I'm so proud of you. Every time I see you in the newspaper or commenting, on
That's nice
the
of
next step for the people that you serve, I always say, good for you. Good for you for your enthusiasm and your investment in them. And
well, you know the story about how I got to be where I'm at here in the Commonwealth, but it was because somebody helped me. Mm-hmm. And when I called her to say, I'm not sure I know how to say thank you or how I can give back to you, she said, at some point in your life, you're going to have the opportunity to help one person. She said, you help that one person, I'm paid in full. Mm-hmm. And that's always stuck with me. So like you, mm-hmm. like myself, like the folks working the cameras here and in the edit booth and in the control booth, we all, if we can, we should, and it's amazing how a lot of people do a lot of things for folks and never want anything in return and actually never want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like, look at me, aren't I great? Because I'm doing this, right? No, seriously. And we know a lot of people that say, look at me, I'm great. Look at me, right? But there are a lot of people that said, well, they don't want the spotlight on them. They just want to help.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes a strong, vibrant community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. It takes a community to raise a child, whatever cliche you want to attach to it. And so you folks are doing some great work. So now we've only got a couple of moments left. Tell the folks more about how they can get involved with the walk on May 4th. Where do they go to get more information?
Well, a couple of things. Now that we have a Sheriff's Team, you can sign up on the Sheriff's Team online.
Ooh.
I'm going to put that online.
Okay,
Project
do that.
Bread.
Do that.
You can call us at Project Bread.
Yeah.
You can just go to the Walk for Hunger page and look for the Sheriff's Team. You can look for that. And we have a new website, and it's very easy to navigate, and you can just cruise around it, or you can call us, and the lovely Danny answers the phone, and she's really sweet, and she'll help you out. But really, on the web, which everybody uses, or on the phone, projectbread.org.
Beautiful.
The Sheriff's Team.
The Sheriff's Team. This is going to be fun. See, you challenged me. Boy, my folks are going to be so happy with me. Listen, we're out of time. Really appreciate you coming by today.
Oh, gosh, my pleasure.
And we can't wait till the 4th now.
Me either,
we can't wait.
Sheriff.
We got to go out and get us a bunch of...
I'm expecting big things.
Yeah, no,
we're not even going to be able to afford to match how much you raise.
Oh, you know what? Listen. All right. Okay. We are definitely out of here now. Thank you so much for coming by.
My pleasure.
You're going to get me in trouble here. So look, folks, we're out of time. We're out of here. We'll be back again next week. Until then, you take care of yourself. Peace. Don't forget to walk. May 4th. Bye-bye.
You're so good.